Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
No. Sorry, I'm afraid you can't enter without a reservation. What's the deal with this place? It looks really good, but with that many rules, dining here is going to be a problem, Carl said, not looking too happy. Nicole produced a gold card from her pocket. Do you think we'll be able to enter with this? The service staff took the gold card and examined it. Then, her eyes widened, and her attitude shifted as she looked at Nicole with what seemed to be newfound humility and respect. Okay, the staff said. Nicole turned to Carl. We may enter now. Carl smiled, happier and satisfied with the outcome. Following the service staff, Nicole and Carl entered the clubhouse, and as they walked, Carl exclaimed in amazement, "It is bigger than it looks on the outside." In front of them was a spacious and brightly lit hall. The walls, which were draped in gold, made the whole place look splendid, and there were 4 passages, one on each side, with each leading to different areas. What do you have on the menu? Carl asked the service staff who was leading the way. We have a ton of dishes. You'll see when you look at the menu, the staff said, unable to introduce them all, as there were just too many to name. Get us a room, Nicole ordered. One that is nice and comfortable. Sure, this way please. The service staff gestured, inviting them both to enter the one closest to them. I hope this room has what you're looking for. Nicole walked in and looked around, before asking Carl, what do you think? Carl scanned the place, not looking too satisfied. It could have been better. In response, Nicole turned to the service staff. Are there any other rooms? Yes, right this way please, the staff replied. The service staff then led them to another private lounge. Does this room better suit your needs? Nicole looked at Carl, who subsequently walked in to examine the place. It is not bad at all. Then here it is, Nicole said and turned to the service staff. Serve us the very best you have on the menu. Okay, I will get right on it. If you need anything else, you may ring the little bell on the table and one of our staffs will come right over, the staff said, and sauntered off to prepare their meals. Carl plunked himself on the couch and switched the television on with a remote, while Nicole took a seat beside him. Pick a sci-fi blockbuster, Nicole said. I'm not a fan of sci-fi. At this moment, I'm in the mood for some fantasy adventure, Carl said, fiddling with the remote. I don't see the appeal. Hand me the remote. Nicole reached out for the remote, who slapped her hand away, refusing to give it to her. Nicole glared at him. Think you're a tough guy, aren't you? Carl reluctantly handed her the remote control. We're just watching a movie. Why do you always have to be so forceful? Do I look like I give a damn? She replied. Carl rose to his feet and strutted off to the other side of the room, seemingly bored out of his mind. A moment later, Nicole heard singing. Frowning, she looked over and murmured, What the hell? Is he singing, like for real? She placed the remote and walked over to Carl, who was crooning away with a microphone in hand and his back turned to her. Nicole picked the other one up and joined him in a duet, and soon, the duo began resuming with the fun that they had left off the night before, filling the entire room with their voices. Once they had concluded the final verse, Carl eyed Nicole. Aren't you supposed to be watching a movie? Why did you come over? What's it to you? I'll do as I wish, Nicole replied and proceeded with the next number on the list. As the music cued in, Carl sang the first line before Nicole could even utter a word. Nicole looked at him with her brows raised and her lips pursed. Then, she took a deep breath, ready to seize the moment the second he paused to catch his breath, and when he did, Nicole belted, drowning his voice out with hers. Seeing this, Carl resigned himself to the notion that he would have no choice but to sit back and wait for her to finish. By the time they were done with the second number, the two of them were left parched and famished. Both went back to the table, on the verge of drooling as they fixed their eyes on the dishes which were already being served. The service staff politely went out after serving them their meal, and once the entrance door had closed, the both of them tucked in as if they had not eaten for a week. Wow, this is good, Carl said after taking a bite. Nicole nodded in agreement and gestured at another one of the dishes to Carl. Try this one. Carl took a piece and tasted it. Wow, that's lovely. Looks like you found us a gem of a place. Of course I did, she replied with a smile. I had to take you somewhere ritzy to make sure you're well fed and entertained. Due to the sheer amount of food on the table, both Nicole and Carl were quickly gorged, whereupon Carl laid his cutlery down. Nicole, I don't think I can take another bite. If I keep going, I'm not going to be able to buckle my belt. Nicole's eyes narrowed as she laughed. Well, look at you. So much for being a tough guy, huh? Come on, let's head to the entertainment section. It's going to help with the digestion. Nicole got up, took the lead, and sauntered off toward the entertainment area. There was a galore of games in the entertainment area, and as Nicole walked, her eyes ranged over the entire room, eventually spotting a shooting game. Carl, check this out. We've got something fun over here. Carl was still slumped at the table when he heard Nicole calling out to him. Curious, he rose to his feet and lumbered over to her. What is that? A shooting game. Fancy a round? She asked. In response, he eyed her with his brow raised. The loser foots the bill. Nicole smiled. Yeah, let's get started. Without further delay, the duo inserted their tokens, and the game began. A horde of zombies soon appeared before them and hobbled over. Carl took care of them with a few well-placed shots and turned to Nicole with a grin. See? It is a piece of cake. Nicole smiled without uttering a word, as she knew that the best was yet to come. As soon as the subsequent round began, the horde grew in size, and the game grew even more intense in terms of speed and difficulty. Carl took the gun and proceeded with the onslaught, leaving little room and reason for Nicole to intervene. She stood idly by for the first 3 levels, as Carl had easily blitzed his way through. After catching a glimpse of Nicole's score, which was still capped at 0, on the right side of the screen, Carl smirked. You didn't hit any of them, did you? Come on. These zombies are lame as hell. Go ahead and have your fun, but you'll be singing a different tune soon enough. Nicole shot him a piercing stare and picked her gun up. As soon as the 4th stage began, Carl noticed that there were far fewer zombies on the screen and quipped, "Why are there so few of them? Is that all this game has to offer?" Out of the blue, a bunch of zombies appeared from above and ambushed them. Carl jumped, took aim at once, and began shooting while a second horde lurched out and charged at him from the front. Struggling to keep them at bay, he asked, "Nicole, what are you doing? Why are you not shooting?" Noticing that Carl was getting anxious, Nicole took aim and began firing away. The two of them teamed up, and with Nicole's aid, they got past the stage with relative ease. "Nicole, we're supposed to be a team. Why did you just sit back and watch? Are you waiting for me to get my butt kicked?" Carl complained. "Aren't you a badass? I thought you didn't need me." Nicole mocked. Carl could not think of a response to the jibe, and thus, decided to play it cool. "Of course I am, but with that many zombies, I don't think I'll be able to stop your ass from being handed back to you." In actuality, he was insinuating that Nicole had fired the shots to protect herself while he was the one leading the charge. "Oh, alright then. You won't have to worry about me in the next stage. I'll just get myself killed," she replied. "You? Come on. The match has already started, so you might as well just keep going," Carl pleaded. This time, the number of zombies multiplied and flanked from both the left and right. "Carl, do you need my help now?" Carl felt helpless upon realizing that Nicole could assert her dominance over him, even in a game such as this. "Yes, please." This prompted Nicole to grab her gun and clear the zombies on the right. The two of them worked together and soon, they eliminated their undead enemies, after which they gave each other a high five. Yeah. This sense of teamwork and synergy carried on to the next few games, and they managed to clear every stage in one go. "Well, that was fun," Carl said. "I don't think it was as fun as you think it was," Nicole said and strutted off to the other side of the entertainment section. "What do you mean?" Carl hurried after her to the billiard table. "Carl, do you fancy having a friendly match?" Nicole looked at him with raised eyebrows. "Sure, you may go ahead and tee off." Meanwhile, Jared was back at the office when Max sauntered in with a contract for an international project. "Mr. Johnston, this is the contract. Please take a look. Okay. By the way, I need you to check on something with the finance department. You see, the company has recently made a few payments. I want you to find out where the funds have gone, Jared instructed. Okay, I will get right on with it now. There's no need to rush, Jared replied. You just came back, so I'd like you to take a day off and catch some rest. Thank you, Mr. Johnston, Max replied, and left the office, having informed his employer of all that was supposed to. Later that day, Jared was still in his office, sifting through and perusing from the pile of papers on his desk when he registered the clacking of high heels from a distance. As expected, a knock came not long after. Come on in, he said. Hello, Jared. It has been a long time. Fiorella's voice echoed. What brought you here, Miss Fisher? Jared said, and peered at her with his face still behind the document. The beautiful weather here, I guess. Fiorella laughed and sat down from across Jared. What have you been up to? Nothing too important, really. Anyway, are you here because you wanted to discuss with me about something? Jared placed his pen down and looked at her. So, I wouldn't be allowed to come over if I've got nothing important to talk to you about? Fiorella snickered. I won't complain if you do. Jared smiled, looking more charming. Having you around would be a pleasure. It'd be hard for me to leave if you're going to be this charming, she replied with a smile. Listen, here's the thing. I've got $100 billion project lined up, and I'm looking for a partner. You are the only one who has the motivation and the ability to see it through, so I am here asking you to consider a partnership with me. Thank you, Miss Fisher, he said. Unfortunately, the call is not mine to make. I'm sure you're informed that the Johnston Group has appointed an interim chairman. Any major decision involving the company has to receive his approval before it can proceed. I am afraid that you'd have to liaise with the interim chairman and ask him if he is willing to work with you. Jared said, using Henry as an excuse with which to decline Fiorella's proposal. The collaboration with Martin had just started, and though it was not a big project, Jared did not want to commit himself to anything else just yet. Furthermore, his plate was already full, thanks to the major project that Nicole was involved in. You mean Henry? I didn't expect him to be chairman. Is he at the office now? I will go talk to him, Fiorella said, the smile on her face fading. Her tone and her expression grew cold. She wanted to take this opportunity to meet Jared more often, not anticipating the notion that she had to go through Henry and acquire the old man's approval. I'm sure he is in the office. You'll need to speak to him directly anyway, so just head to the 34th floor and see if he is there. Jared opened the door and ushered her out. To him, the longer she sat here, the more time he would waste talking to her. Okay, I'll see you some other time then. I must make my way up there and meet Henry now. Fiorella rose and headed out the door. Okay, bye. Fiorella strutted out of Jared's office, took the elevator, and headed straight to the floor where Henry's office was, and when she had arrived at the reception counter, she asked, Is Henry in? The secretary who saw her did not recognize her, and she also felt that it was rude and inappropriate for the woman to call Henry by his first name. May I ask who you are and if you have an appointment? What? Now that Henry is the chairman, he needs an appointment made before anyone is allowed to meet him. Fiorella eyed the assistant with her lips pursed and her brow raised. Tell him that Fiorella Fisher has something that would interest him. The assistant picked the phone up and said, Mr. Johnston, a person by the name of Fiorella Fisher wishes to see you. Send her in, Henry said. Mr. Johnston said you're welcome to enter. The assistant stared at Fiorella with an expression of puzzlement, thinking, who is this woman? Who is she to demand entry and raise her voice in front of Mr. Johnston's office? Fiorella pushed the door open and walked in. Henry looked at her with a blank stare, and without even bothering to stand up. If it were in the past, he would have hurried out of the office to greet her. He gestured. Miss Fisher, please take a seat. Mr. Johnston, you've gotten yourself a rather opulent office, I must say, she commented. Though Fiorella might have called him Mr. Johnston on purpose, she did not like Henry, even in the slightest. She looked around and found that the place was even more spacious and decadent as compared to Jared's office. Henry did not in the least care what she called him, and he took that as a compliment. It is all right. The decorations are the work of my employees. I specifically instructed them to keep things modest, but it seems that this was what they had in mind. Either way, I thought it looked amazing, and embraced it anyway. Mr. Johnston, you're truly a modest man indeed, Fiorella said, her tone icy and her face blank. You rarely visit, so I must ask, what brought you here today? Henry frowned as he began to size her up. Mr. Johnston, it seems that you have taken on an entirely new appearance and demeanor ever since you became the chairman. Fiorella took a seat and looked at him from the couch. Henry left his chair and joined her on the couch as well. Oh, that's fine. To cut to the chase, I have $100 billion project in my lineup, Mr. Johnston. I was wondering if you'd be interested in a partnership, Fiorella said as she scrutinized his expression. Oh, I'm all ears. Henry beamed. It is a new energy project with enormous future prospects, a lucrative business, I should say. Fiorella said, and proceeded to pitch her idea with the eloquence typical of a businessperson for the next few hours. Then, she stopped. Mr. Johnston, my apologies, but I'm a little thirsty. Henry, who knew what she meant, got up and went to his desk to make a call. What would you like to drink? Do you have coffee? Of course we do. Bring 2 cups of coffee in, please, Henry ordered over the phone. In no time, the secretary strode in with 2 cups of coffee and placed them on the table in front of Henry and Fiorella, respectively. Fiorella glanced at the assistant, grabbed her cup of coffee, and took a sip. The coffee is not bad. Though she seemed to mean well, she was insinuating that brewing coffee was the only thing the secretary was capable of doing. Henry, upon hearing what Fiorella had to say about the coffee, took his cup and took a sip as well. It tastes good indeed. Fiorella darted him a glance and turned away with a sneer, knowing that Henry had echoed her sentiment without knowing what she had meant when she said what she had said. Mr. Johnston, are you interested in the collaboration that I had just proposed? Fiorella asked, steering the conversation back to the topic. It seems to be an excellent project on paper, but it'll take 3 years for us to get any meaningful returns, which I think is a long wait, Henry replied. Although he was not as savvy as Jared when it comes to business, he was still able to call the shots thanks to his vast amounts of experience in the industry. That is expected of a project of such scale and quality, she said, attempting to persuade Henry so that she could work with Jared. Breaking even in a matter of 3 years isn't slow by any measure. To get ourselves the highest amount of returns, we must hedge our bets on these quality projects. Minor projects may offer quick returns, but the trade-off is, the yields will be low, which ultimately results in a waste of time and resources. For us, time is money, and I believe that our precious time should be spent investing in high-yield projects. Thank you, Miss Fisher, for considering us for such an excellent project idea. But this is $100 billion project, so you must give me some time to think about it. Henry replied, neither accepting nor declining the offer, as he wished to keep the option. Okay, then I shall excuse myself and await your good news. Fiorella said, not wanting to stay for another minute, as she had made herself clear. Allow me to send you off. It is all right. Fiorella declined, and left the office by herself. Back in the establishment, the duo had already played 2 games. Both Nicole and Carl had each won a set, and now on the third, Nicole had pocketed every ball except for 2, while Carl had scored none. Seeing that Nicole was going to win again, he said, hey, take it easy on me this time. Nicole pocketed another ball with a thud. Then, she looked up at the scoreboard and saw that Carl had missed every shot he had attempted. Nicole looked playfully at Carl. All right, she said, and intentionally misplaced her shot, giving Carl a chance to score. Carl took his cue to the pool table and eyed the billiards, murmuring, I'm going to be humiliated if I don't pocket this in a single try. Unfortunately for him, Nicole had overheard what he had said. Do you really need to maintain your pride in front of me? Hearing you say that really saddens me. I'm a man, and I can't allow myself to be embarrassed any further, all right? Carl gave Nicole a sideways glance, and proceeded to take aim. Well, all right. Carl's cue ball struck the billiard, and it entered the pocket with a thud. But as he was cheering and patting himself in the back, Nicole appeared indifferent. What is there to be happy about when you have just scored once? Carl took aim at the ball that was slightly further away, struck the cue ball, and pocketed his second billiard before turning to Nicole. See? That's not even once anymore now, is it? Come on, where did that come from? Are you sure you're not overcompensating for something? Nicole looked at him and shook her head. Nicole's scathing remark might have shattered his sense of satisfaction in himself, but it had also aroused his fighting spirit. He had to make a clean shot, so that she would not laugh at him anymore. With his game face on, he proceeded to land a couple of shots in a row, leaving all but one billiard on the table. I'm about to win, so be ready to eat your words and pay for the meal, he exclaimed. It is not over yet. We do not know who is going to win. Nicole said, remaining as calm and collected as ever. Fine, consider this a graceful defeat on your part. Carl smiled. With the strike of a cue, he launched the last ball into the pocket. As of now, all that was left were the cue ball and Nicole's 8-ball on the left side of the table. If he could pocket the black billiard, he would be victor of the match. Nicole, who was hovering at the sidelines, did not panic even when she saw that Carl had pocked all of his balls. Instead, she took a sip of her drink. Carl then stopped playing, went up to Nicole and said, if you're willing to throw in the towel, I will sit this one out and spare you the embarrassment. Why don't you start by getting the last ball in? Nicole sneered and rolled her eyes at him. Carl narrowed his eyes and gave her a thumbs up. All right, I've got to admit that your confidence is admirable. Then, he went back to the table, took aim, and prepared himself for the winning shot, but before he went on to strike the cue ball, he glanced over his shoulder back at Nicole. Are you sure you are not going to concede defeat? Nicole waved her hand as if to dismiss him, and Carl proceeded to pocket the 8-ball. He walked over to Nicole with a look of smug satisfaction on his face. You refuse to concede even after I've given you the chance, but I've won anyway. What's so humiliating about that? It is just a game. Now that we have eaten and had our fun, let's get out of here. Nicole walked out with a confident gait, as if she had not lost the game at all. You know, there is something about your composure that tells me that it is not genuine, Carl ran after her. Soon after, Nicole arrived at the reception desk and met the service staff. May I have the tab, please? The service staff looked at her, and in a respectful tone said, Miss Riddle, as someone who possesses a gold card, you aren't required to pay. Before Nicole could utter a word in response, Carl turned to the staff member in shock. Wait, we aren't required to pay because she has a gold card? Sir, let me explain it to you, the staff member said. Miss Riddle is a gold card holder, and one of the privileges afforded to her, but not our regular patrons, is that she isn't required to pay a dime when dining in our establishment. Carl stared at her, flabbergasted at what he just heard. I didn't know that you were held in such high esteem. Well, since none of us are required to foot the bill, let's just go. Nicole walked out with a look of indifference, devoid of even a single ounce of pride. Along the way, as she drove him to Martin's factory, Carl darted her a look. Where are we headed to now? To the factory. The factory? What are we even going there in the first place? Carl asked in a state of puzzlement, wondering if she did own a factory. What's on your mind? She replied. You're probably thinking to yourself that I don't own such a place, aren't you? Wait, how do you know what I'm thinking? Carl eyed her with incredulity. Are you reading my mind? I can't read your mind. It is written all over your face. Nicole rolled her eyes at him. Really? Carl said, refusing to believe so. Soon after, the duo arrived at Martin's factory. Nicole got out of the car and walked in, noticing an entire crowd of employees bustling about in an orderly fashion. Among them was the engineer who had underestimated her earlier. When he spotted her, he ran up to them and greeted her with a smile on his face. Hi, Miss Riddle. Nicole stared him down. Recognizing him as the engineer with whom she had a scuffle, she remained tight-lipped, nodded, and walked on. After a few steps forward, she halted, and found that the engineer was still behind her, tailing the both of them. Why are you following me? Aren't you supposed to be working? Realizing the issue, The engineer smiled, backed up, and left. Nicole, who's that guy and what's his deal? Why is he acting like a dog when it sees its master? Carl glanced at the engineer, and back at Nicole. You know the engineer to whom I've taught a lesson? He's the one. Carl nodded in understanding and directed his gaze at the equipment. What are these machines producing? She looked at him and beckoned him to come along. Follow me. Arriving at the assembly of completed product parts, Nicole grabbed one of the samples that had passed the quality control inspection and handed it to Carl. This is it. What is this? Carl took the beacon and examined it. This is a new medical device developed by Martin. It can speed up the recovery process for those who are suffering medical conditions, Nicole introduced. Is it really that good? Carl scrutinized the tiny beacon in disbelief. Nicole produced a knife out of nowhere and stared at Carl. If you don't believe me, you can go ahead and try cutting yourself. Come on, do you think I'm that stupid? You don't seem very smart either. Nicole sheathed her knife and walked into one of the office rooms. There, she caught sight of someone she knew, and without hesitation, she walked over and tapped the person on the shoulder. Nicole. Kelly whirled around and shouted out in surprise at seeing Nicole. What are you doing here? Nicole asked, her eyes fixed on what Kelly was holding. Nothing much. Just getting something done for Mr. Wyance. When did you get here, by the way? Kelly said, happy to see her. I just arrived and here I am, bumping into you. Nicole replied and smiled. Kelly responded with a giggle. You don't ever get bored working here, do you? Nicole looked at Kelly. Not at all. I've got to say, each day is a fulfilling one, as there is so much for me to do, Kelly replied, though she looked knackered. You won't have to be here tomorrow, Nicole said. Come over to the hospital and help me out by taking care of an elderly person. The hospital? Sure. I'll be happy to be with you no matter where. Kelly smiled. Where is Martin? I think he is in his office up above. Okay. I'll go check on him. Nicole headed upstairs. I'll leave you to it then. As the door to the office was open, Nicole walked right in. When Martin saw her, he beamed. You didn't tell me that you were coming. I've got nothing better to do, so why would I tell you in advance? Besides, surprise visits like these will allow me to see if you are slacking off. Nicole smiled and walked in, after which she took a seat. Allow me to introduce, this is my friend Carl, and this is Martin, whom I've just mentioned to you, Nicole said, introducing the two men to each other. I've heard a lot about you. Carl looked at Martin with a smile. Martin responded in kind. Hello. Martin, he didn't believe me when I told him that the beacon was good, so I'd like you to give him a demonstration. Nicole eyed Martin with her eyebrow raised. Sure. Martin grabbed the beacon on his desk and looked around for a mouse on which he could test the device. There are no mice here. Let's go outside and look for one. Then, the trio marched out of the room and headed downstairs together. How could there be mice in the factory when there aren't even rats? Martin thought, anxious for something he could test his invention on, but when he heard a scream, he rushed over to the source. What's going on? Mr. Wyance, Joe accidentally injured himself while he was working on the machine, one of the workers said. I think we need to take him to the nearest hospital. Let me see. Martin walked up and inspected the wound on Joe's arm. A trip to the hospital won't be necessary, as I can take care of it. He turned to Carl. Carl, allow me to demonstrate what the beacon can do. Upon concluding his sentence, he pressed a red button, removed a syringe containing a rapid healing concoction from the compartment, and thrust the needle into Joe's arm. Seeing that the drug was taking effect at once, Martin glanced back at Carl. What do you think? Amazing. Carl yelled, his eyes fixed on Joe's wound in amazement. It was a minor wound that would usually take a few days to heal, but with Martin's injection, Joe's arm was restored within a matter of minutes. Martin, how did you even come up with the beacon? Carl asked. The healing effect is miraculous. Martin smiled at him. Rapid healing is one of the best features about the beacon. It took me forever to develop it. If it didn't work as well as it does, I wouldn't have produced it en masse. Gosh, you're a genius. I can't believe that you actually invented something this futuristic. Can I buy one? Carl asked, wanting to buy one because he felt that this device would be of use to him. Weren't you skeptical of it? Nicole teased. Why would you want to get one now? How could I doubt it now? It's just that. I didn't know what it was capable of, Carl explained, his face flushing due to embarrassment. You don't have to purchase one. Nicole looked at Carl and smiled. I'll give one of these to you. Are you sure about that? He looked at Nicole in disbelief, thinking that she was just messing around with him. It's fine if you don't want it. She turned around and headed for the exit. Carl ran after her, stammering, Oh, sure. Please, get me one. When can I have it? You'll get one later when I leave, she replied. Martin, when Carl comes over to receive his order, you may pass him the latest batch of the beacon, which I've just ordered. Nicole glanced to the side at Martin and ordered. Martin kept his eyes fixed on Carl for a moment and turned to Nicole. Understood. All right, we better get going now, she said, passing her beacon to Carl as she began walking off. See you around. See you, Martin waved. This is yours. Carl received the beacon and wore it on his arms with a look of delight. Man, this thing looks really cool on me. It matches my aesthetics. Nicole darted her eyes at him. Indeed, it does look good on you. Are we leaving already? Carl glanced over back at Martin. Yeah, unless you're thinking of spending the night here, that is. I don't mind leaving you here if that's what you want, Nicole said without giving him another glance and got into her car. Why would I want to live in a factory? He asked and entered the vehicle, afraid that Nicole would leave him behind. Where are you staying? She asked. I'll send you home so that you can catch some rest. Do you have anything going on for you? He asked in response. I can keep you company if you'd like. Nicole replied. No, I'm just heading over to my grandmother's for a visit. Now that I'm here, we can both pay her a visit together. Carl stated, knowing that he had nothing better to do in the hotel where he was staying. At least he would have someone to talk to if he tagged along. Okay, sounds good to me. Nicole said, flooring the accelerator and heading off to the Sea View Villa. It's beautiful here. Carl looked out from the window and admired the sea that stretched off into the horizon. Yeah. I love lounging around at balcony and gaze off into the sea when I've got nothing else to do, she said. I can keep my eyes on the view all afternoon at times. By the way, do you see that building in front? That's the villa. Wow, that's huge. Carl exclaimed as he stared at the only villa overlooking the sea. Of course it is, she said upon reaching the villa. It was my grandpa's gift to me. Then, she entered the driveway. Wait, whose car is this? Nicole questioned as she noticed an unfamiliar car parked at the courtyard. Could it be Jared? Carl asked, hazarding a guess. It can't be him. That's not his car. I guess we'll find out once we're inside. Nicole parked her car and strutted off into the villa. As Nicole and Carl entered the living room, they spotted a man sitting on the couch, chatting with Mrs. Wallace Sr. Nicole, you're back. Mrs. Wallace Sr. said the instant she noticed Nicole walking in. The guy on the sofa turned around to look at the entrance. Nicole, what kept you away for so long? Harvey asked as he eyed Nicole with a look of concern on his face. I've heard from Mrs. Wallace Sr. that you haven't visited her for a few days. Nicole shot him a glare and made a beeline for Mrs. Wallace Sr. Grandma, why did you let him in? What kind of question is that? Harvey glanced at Carl and back at Nicole, his face red with embarrassment. Why can't I be here? It is fine if Nicole wants to have a dig at me in front of our friends and family, but how could she do it in front of a stranger? Harvey thought. Harvey stared at Carl and asked, and who is this? A friend of mine, Nicole replied, foregoing the need to introduce them to one another. Hi, I'm Harvey Ellison. A friend of hers too. Harvey extended his hand to Carl. Carl, sensing that Nicole was not on good terms with the man in front of him, gave a short reply. He did not even shake Harvey's hands. Seeing this, Harvey withdrew his hand, sat down awkwardly, and turned to Nicole. "What have you been up to lately? Has Mr. Johnston Sr. woken up?" Ever since Jared returned, Harvey had not visited the hospital. "He's awake," Nicole said, before turning to Mrs. Wallace Sr. and introducing Carl to her grandmother. "Grandma, this is my best friend Carl." "Hello, Mrs. Wallace Sr." Carl greeted. Mrs. Wallace Sr., who noticed Carl's tall and athletic physique, laughed. "This boy over here looks fit. You better be eating more later on." Nicole turned to look at Carl. "Grandma's right. He is buff indeed." As Nicole and her grandmother chatted, Harvey sat down in his quiet little corner and watched them. He felt ostracized as no one could be bothered to talk to him. It was as if Mrs. Wallace Sr. had forgotten about his presence as well. Not feeling content with being left out any longer, Harvey decided to interrupt their conversation. "Mrs. Wallace Sr., have you gotten any sun today?" Mrs. Wallace Sr. looked at Harvey. "Huh? I mean, would you like to go out to the balcony and bask under the sun?" Harvey asked. "Sure." Mrs. Wallace Sr. nodded. "I'll keep you company." Nicole helped Mrs. Wallace Sr. up. Seeing this, Harvey hurried over and kept the old lady supported on the other side. Carl was perplexed as he looked at the both of them rushing to the aid of Mrs. Wallace Sr. She is still pretty strong and healthy. Does she really need two people on her flank to prop herself up? Harvey smirked as he saw Carl staring blankly at them. He felt that he had finally been given a chance to shine, and as both Harvey and Nicole walked Mrs. Wallace Sr. to the balcony, Carl followed closely behind. Nicole glared at Harvey. "Why is this guy everywhere? He's just trying to get himself some attention and brownie points." All of them sat down after they had brought Mrs. Wallace Sr. to the balcony, and as the gentle breeze blew and caressed her face, Nicole gazed out into the sea. "Such lovely weather today." Harvey nodded in agreement. "Yeah, we should all just chill out under this climate." Nicole turned toward Harvey and suggested, "Why don't we have a game of volleyball at the beach?" Harvey eyed her with a look of approval. "That's a great idea." But then, Grandma just came up. The both of them simultaneously turned their attention to Mrs. Wallace Sr. After which Harvey came up with a bold suggestion. "Why not bring her along?" Nicole pondered for a moment. She is in no condition to play volleyball. Harvey rolled his eyes and frowned. "Who said she'll be playing with us? She can be our referee." "Well, that sounds like a good idea," Nicole replied, feeling that Harvey was capable of spurs of brilliance at times. It was then that Tia walked in with a platter topped with fruits. "Have some, Nicole." Nicole looked at Tia and glanced around. Realizing that there were 4 people present, she concluded that they could team up in pairs. "Tia, would you fancy a game of volleyball with us?" "Sure." Tia beamed. "And Carl?" Nicole asked. "Yes, sure," he answered. "Okay, we'll bring Grandma along then," Nicole said. "Hey Grandma, we'll take you to the beach for a game of volleyball." Mrs. Wallace Sr. waved her hand in dismissal. "You guys can go ahead. I don't think I can play at all." "No worries. You can be our referee. You can bask under the sun there too," Nicole said, as she helped her grandmother up on her feet. All of them strutted to the beach with chairs and parasols in hand. When they had found a spot they wanted, Carl went about setting up the parasol as Harvey arranged the chairs, and Nicole and Tia sat Mrs. Wallace Sr. down. "Grandma, you can just sit here and watch us play," Nicole said. "Whichever side the ball lands, you can go ahead and deduct points for that side." Mrs. Riddle Sr. kept nodding her head, but Nicole was not certain if her grandmother actually understood the instructions. "All right, let's split into teams." Nicole turned to the rest of them. "What is the arrangement?" Harvey asked. "I'll team up with Carl, and you'll be with Tia," Nicole said, not wishing to be in the same team as Harvey. On the other hand, Harvey wanted to team up with Nicole, but due to the fact that Nicole had already paired him up with Tia, he could not decline. Doing so would only make Tia feel awkward. "All right, let's move out." Nicole said. The both of you can decide who gets to go first with a game of paper, scissors, and stone. Carl suggested, whereupon they did. I won. Nicole yelled, and started the game. With a bang, Nicole struck the ball, launching it to the opposite side. However, Harvey was light-footed and quick to act. He sprinted over and bounced it back to her. Nicole was well prepared to strike the ball again. Once the ball had reached her side of the court, she quickly stretched her arms out and launched the ball up and over the net. Once again, Harvey countered and sent it flying back to her. Seeing that Harvey had bounced it back once more, Nicole sent the ball toward Tia instead, and as Tia did not really know how to play, the ball grazed her hand and fell to the ground. With that said, Nicole had won the first round. In spite of this, Harvey stepped forward and encouraged Tia. Don't worry, let's try again. This time around, Nicole eluded Harvey and focused on engaging Tia, and as expected, Tia could not track, let alone bounce the ball back, and thus, Nicole won the second round. After Nicole had won a few rounds in a row, Harvey stopped the game. Nicole, I don't think our teams are balanced in terms of skill levels. I think we should reshuffle them. Nicole asked, how are we supposed to do that? Harvey considered her question for a moment, and after some thought, he decided to seize the opportunity and say, both you and Carl are good at this, but the same can't be said for Tia and I. Why don't I switch places with Carl? That would even the playing field. Nicole turned to Carl, who had no objections. Okay, let's do that. First off, let's catch a break. Nicole strutted off toward Mrs. Wallace Sr., we'll continue in a bit. Grandma, did you see that? Nicole asked. I won a few rounds in a row. I saw that. The ball has been flying back and forth. It made me dizzy, Mrs. Wallace Sr. replied. They erupted into a gale of laughter when they heard her response. The atmosphere at the beach was lively indeed. After their break was over, Nicole stood up and turned to look at them. Are you guys ready? Let's go. Harvey yelled. He was in good spirits. Now that he was in the same team as Nicole, he would take this opportunity to showcase his abilities to her. Tia, you can attack from the front. I'll stand guard on your 6. Carl said, explaining his strategy to Tia. Sure, but I'm not very good at it. Tia looked at Carl and blushed. It's okay. I'll be here, Carl replied, his tone exuding a sense of trust. Nicole, you can remain in the front. I'll take care of the back. Harvey spouted with a tone of confidence to Nicole. Okay, she responded. When the match began, Tia opened by launching the ball onto an area unguarded by the opposing team. In response, Nicole rushed over and bounced it into the air. Then, Harvey followed up with a jump and sent the ball flying toward Carl. Carl caught the ball with relative ease and sent it hurtling back to the ground across the net, winning the game. Seeing this, Tia whirled around in excitement and gave Carl a high five. He actually got it. Harvey sighed, thinking that Carl wouldn't be able to reach the ball because it was rather far away from him when it was sent over the net. Yet, Carl not only caught it, he had sent it flying back to them with a winning shot. In the subsequent round, Tia opened with a shot across the net once more. Nicole saw this and sent the ball flying back to them, prompting Carl to lurch forward and strike it. With the ball flying past Nicole, Harvey thought that she would not be able to reach it in time, so he lunged forward to secure the ball. At that instant, both of them collided into other and fell to the ground, as the ball landed right beside them.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.